Now, in the aftermath of the devastating floods that claimed thousands of lives in North Korea, at least 30 government officials have been reportedly sentenced to death.
This morning, 21-year-old Otto Warmbier is behind bars in North Korea.
North Korea is a country surrounded by mystery, isolation, and secrets. Its government controls nearly every aspect of its citizens' daily lives, from what they can watch on television to the places they can visit. In a world where everything seems to be under strict surveillance, rules and events emerge that are so peculiar they challenge our understanding. Did you know that there is a city where the rules are even more perplexing, or one that always seems to be in camouflage mode? In this video, we will dive into the strangest things that only exist in North Korea. Get ready to explore a country where reality seems more fantastical than any fiction. Number 15. No television, phone, or internet access. Imagine living in a place where you can't access the internet, watch TV, or even use a mobile phone freely. This is the reality in North Korea, where the regime strictly controls access to information to maintain its ideology intact. How can citizens in this country know what is happening outside their borders? Access to the internet, foreign television, and international phone calls is prohibited in North Korea. The North Korean regime maintains strict control over communications to ensure that the only source of information is the state. This isolationist policy has several objectives, one of the main ones being to prevent the spread of foreign information that could undermine the regime's authority. The North Korean government uses an intricate system of surveillance and censorship to prevent citizens from accessing international media. The few media outlets that exist in the country are completely controlled by the state and are designed to glorify the leader and his government, as well as spread propaganda. This has created an informational bubble where the population is completely disconnected from the outside world, reinforcing blind loyalty to the regime. Possessing unauthorized electronic devices, such as a TV with access to foreign channels or a computer capable of connecting to the internet, is considered a serious crime. Those caught violating these strict laws may face severe consequences, ranging from imprisonment to public executions. The regime also monitors the use of mobile phones, and citizens cannot make international calls or communicate freely with people outside the country. Number 14. The Arirang Mass Games. Imagine a show so grand that thousands of people participate in perfect synchronization to pay homage to the regime. This is the Arirang Mass Games, one of the most impressive exhibitions in the world. Through dance, music, and gymnastics, the North Korean regime creates an event that not only celebrates its history, but also reaffirms total control over the population. The Mass Games, also known as Arirang, is a massive performance that combines dance, gymnastics, music, and military displays, all coordinated with almost inhuman precision. This annual event aims to commemorate the country's revolutionary achievements and strengthen patriotism among citizens. Thousands of students and members of various organizations participate in these performances, creating elaborate visual patterns and massive images that reflect North Korea's history and its leaders. The event takes place at the Pyongyang Stadium, the largest stadium in the world, with a capacity of over 150,000 spectators. The performances are a mix of colors, lights, and music, performed by a massive choir singing revolutionary anthems. Participants spend months training to achieve perfection in their movements, and the discipline required is strict. In addition to being an impressive visual spectacle, the Mass Games are a propaganda tool that exalts the figures of leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, as well as the country's socialist system. Through these events, the regime reinforces its control over the population, showcasing the nation's unity and loyalty to the leader. Number 13. Fake cities. In North Korea, where everything is carefully controlled, even the appearance of prosperity is a game of illusions. Entire cities are built to look authentic and prosperous, but are actually empty or designed solely for propaganda purposes. One of these is Kijongdong, a city built with the sole purpose of deceiving the outside world. But why do this? Kijongdong, also known as the Propaganda Village, is one of the most notorious examples of fake cities in North Korea. Located in the demilitarized zone near the border with South Korea, this city was designed to impress foreign visitors, especially those from the south. With its tall buildings and monumental flagpole, Kijongdong projects an image of prosperity, as if it were a symbol of North Korea's strength. However, appearances can be deceiving. While it may seem like a vibrant city from afar, upon closer inspection, the truth is revealed. The buildings have no windows, and there are no signs of life on the streets. Some reports suggest that it may be a simple movie set, created solely to impress observers. The purpose of Kijongdong and other similar cities is clear: to give the impression that North Korea is a rich and successful nation, when in reality, it is facing a severe economic and social crisis. These fake cities not only serve as a facade for the outside world, but may also be used to distract the North Korean population from their daily struggles. While poverty, food shortages, and lack of basic services plague most citizens, the regime creates these cities as a propaganda spectacle to present a distorted image of prosperity. Number 12. No use of contraceptives or sanitary towels. Imagine living in a place where basic hygiene options for women don't exist. In North Korea, women face an alarming reality: the lack of access to contraceptives and sanitary towels, essential items that are part of everyday life in many countries. But in this isolated regime, the situation is very different. How is it possible that in the 21st century, women still lack these basic rights? In North Korea, access to menstrual hygiene products and contraceptives is extremely limited, if not non-existent. Women in the country are not familiar with sanitary towels, invented in 1888, and are said to use rags and towels instead, which must be washed and reused each month. This system is not only unhygienic, but also deeply ineffective in ensuring women's health and well-being. Access to contraceptives, on the other hand, is also restricted. The regime does not allow education on birth control, as any attempt to regulate reproduction is seen as a threat to the social structure controlled by the state. Women who try to avoid pregnancy often have to resort to rudimentary methods or simply face the lack of adequate alternatives. This approach to reproductive health reflects the lack of basic rights for women in North Korea. In a country where the government controls every aspect of citizens' lives, women's autonomy over their bodies and health is subordinated to the regime's policies. North Korean women not only face harsh living conditions, but also lack the fundamental rights to protect their health and personal well-being. Number 11. No religion. One of the most surprising aspects of North Korea is its policy toward religion. In a country where the leader is considered almost a god, what room is there for religious beliefs? The answer is clear: almost none. The North Korean regime has systematically dismantled any form of organized religion. This is no coincidence, as the personality cult surrounding the Kim family promotes the idea that the leader is the only figure worthy of devotion. Traditional religions, especially Christianity, are seen as a threat to the government's absolute control and a form of dangerous foreign influence. Historically, it is known that Kim Jong-il's mother, Kang Ban-siak, was Christian, but once the Kim family took control, any trace of organized religion was eradicated. Kim Jong-il himself remarked in his youth that churches seemed boring to him, and it seems this motivated him to create a system where the only acceptable devotion was towards him and his family. Those who secretly practice religion face severe repercussions. The persecution of Christians is especially intense, and the regime spares no effort to eliminate any trace of religious practices in its population. However, despite the oppression, it is likely that clandestine groups continue to maintain their beliefs in secret to avoid reprisals that could include death. Number 10. State-controlled haircuts. In North Korea, even your hairstyle is subject to state approval. Haircuts, both for men and women, must adhere to strict regulations, to ensure that the population fits the idealized image of the revolutionary citizen. But why would a regime be so strict about something as personal as a haircut? Haircuts in North Korea are not simply a matter of style or personal preference, they are another means of social control. The North Korean regime has established a set of strict guidelines governing how both men and women should wear their hair. In total, there are only 28 officially approved haircuts, 10 for men and 18 for women. These regulations are intended to promote conformity and project a unified image of the ideal citizen, someone who follows the rules and does not stray from the path set by the regime. For men, the approved styles are mostly traditional, with short hair and no adornments. The most popular haircut is the japatsu, which is inspired by the style of Kim Jong-il, the father of the current leader, Kim Jong-un. Women, on the other hand, must avoid long or extravagant hairstyles and opt for more conservative styles that align with the regime's expectations. Although women's options are more varied, they must always maintain a modest and respectful appearance. The enforcement of these standards is strict, carried out through posters in beauty salons and constant surveillance by local authorities. Barbers must report any violations of personal grooming rules, creating an atmosphere of fear and social control. The regime also has guidelines on facial hair, with men required to shave and women's makeup being kept to a minimum, leaving no room for individual expression. Penalties for not complying with grooming regulations can range from fines and public humiliation to harsher punishments like forced labor or even death, depending on the severity of the infraction and the person's political status. In this way, the regime ensures that citizens not only conform to its ideological expectations, but also project a public image that reinforces the state's ideology. Number 9. The Ryugyong Hotel. In the Pyongyang skyline, one towering structure stands out, the Ryugyong Hotel. Although it is one of the tallest buildings in the world, this hotel has never been used. Why does such an impressive structure remain vacant and non-functional? The story behind its construction is as intriguing as its appearance. The Ryugyong Hotel, standing at 330 meters with 105 floors, is one of the largest and tallest buildings in the world, but it has remained empty since its construction began in 1987. Work on the building stopped for several years due to the country's economic crisis and lack of resources. For nearly 2 decades, it was nicknamed the Hotel of Death due to its incomplete state and the economic struggles that kept it from becoming a functional hotel. The hotel's design is unique, with 3 wings narrowing as they rise, creating a stepped pyramid. Its exterior is covered in glass and concrete, giving it a futuristic look that contrasts with the city's traditional architectural style. Despite decades of stagnation, the hotel has undergone some renovations, including the installation of LED lights, which illuminate it at night. However, the interior remains a mystery. It has never been opened to the public, and the lack of information about its intended use has fueled speculation. Although it was once hoped that it would open as an international hotel, the lack of proper infrastructure and North Korea's international isolation have kept it from becoming a viable tourist destination. The Ryugyong Hotel reflects the North Korean regime's ambitious architectural projects, but it also symbolizes the country's economic failures and disconnection from the international community. Despite its size and prominence, the fact that it has never been functional highlights the gap between the government's aspirations and the country's real capabilities. Number 8. The 3 generations punishment. Imagine that, after committing a minor offense, your entire family, including your children and parents, is severely punished. While this might sound unbelievable, it is a reality in North Korea, where the 3 generations punishment is applied with ruthless severity. But how serious is this policy? And why does the regime enforce it so harshly? The 3 generations punishment in North Korea is a brutal policy that extends the consequences of a crime beyond the individual who committed it, affecting their descendants and ancestors. This policy primarily targets those considered enemies of the state, whether for political crimes or for being linked to any form of dissent. If someone is accused of treason or rebellion, the punishment does not only affect them, but their entire family, including parents, children, and even grandchildren, may be subjected to forced labor, imprisonment, or even exile. This system of punishment, which dates back to the early years of the regime under Kim Il-sung, aims to consolidate the party's power and eliminate any form of opposition. By punishing multiple generations of a single family, the regime seeks to create an atmosphere of terror where even the closest relatives of the accused are forced to pay for one member's sins. This practice also discourages any attempt at rebellion or questioning of the regime, as the potential to harm an entire family is an unbearable weight for many. Through this measure, North Korea has managed to silence any internal criticism, as the fear of endangering loved ones is a highly effective control tool. The policy has been strongly criticized by international organizations, but the regime continues to implement it as part of its strategy to maintain absolute control over the population. The 3 generations punishment is not only a violation of human rights, but also perpetuates a cycle of suffering and fear within families. In a country where freedom of expression is non-existent and control is absolute, this system ensures that dissent has no place, as citizens know that their actions could put their loved ones at risk. Fear is the regime's most powerful tool, and with this policy, it demonstrates this in a terrifying way. Number 7. The ban on jeans and Western clothing. In North Korea, jeans and Western clothing are much more than just a matter of fashion. The Kim Jong-un regime sees them as symbols of American influence and has thus banned them. This clothing control policy is not only about eliminating foreign elements, but also about maintaining cultural purity and absolute control over the population. How does this regulation affect daily life in North Korea? The ban on jeans and Western clothing in North Korea is part of a broader strategy to preserve cultural independence and keep out any external influences that might be seen as dangerous or contrary to the regime. Citizens are required to follow a state-approved dress code, which promotes the use of traditional clothing, like the hanbok, a Korean outfit that reflects the leadership's emphasis on nationalism and national identity. These regulations are strictly enforced through regular inspections and surveillance by local authorities. If someone is caught wearing clothing deemed inappropriate, the consequences can be severe, ranging from fines to imprisonment or public punishment. Despite international criticism of this restriction, which some view as a violation of human rights and an attempt to suppress individuality, the North Korean government insists that these regulations are necessary to preserve the cultural purity and identity of the country. For many, this ban is another example of the extreme control the regime exercises over the lives of its citizens, limiting their personal freedom even in something as trivial as what they can or cannot wear. Some, however, argue that this measure contributes to the creation of a unique national identity free from foreign influences. This control over clothing is just one reflection of the widespread surveillance and restrictions that affect every aspect of life in North Korea. Number 6. Dating in North Korea. What would you do if you couldn't date in the way we know it? In North Korea, romantic interactions are strictly controlled by the regime, making the concept of dating completely different from what you might imagine. Let's discover how romantic life works in one of the most closed-off countries in the world. In North Korea, romantic relationships are heavily influenced by the regime's ideology. The concept of dating, as we know it, is practically prohibited, as social and emotional interactions are under strict state control. It's uncommon for couples to go to the movies or enjoy recreational activities together. Instead, social gatherings are closely monitored, and public displays of affection are disapproved. Most North Koreans follow the traditional system of arranged marriages, which is based on factors such as social status and, more importantly, political loyalty to the regime. Marriages are seen not only as a union between two individuals, but also as a way to ensure ideological conformity within society. In this system, relationships are valued based on the commitment to the state and the ideological behavior of the individuals involved. The regime also strongly discourages any relationships with foreigners. The fear that such romantic exchanges could compromise national security is one of the key factors behind this restriction. In a context where surveillance is omnipresent, the romantic lives of North Koreans are fundamentally different from those in democratic countries where dating is seen as a private activity with no political implications. Number 5. Prison camps in North Korea. The prison camp system in North Korea is one of the most terrifying aspects of the regime. These facilities not only house political dissidents, but also those deemed enemies of the state. The conditions in these camps are brutal, and prisoners endure a life of suffering and forced labor. What really happens inside these camps? The prison camps in North Korea are infamous for their brutality and the oppression suffered by the inmates. There are different types of camps, each with a specific purpose: political prisoner camps, labor camps, and re-education centers. Political prisoner camps are designed for those perceived as a threat to the regime, such as those who have attempted to escape the country or are suspected of dissent. The conditions in these camps are extremely harsh. Prisoners are subjected to forced labor, receive inadequate medical care, and many are tortured, physically abused, or even executed without trial. Life in these camps is a constant struggle for survival, where the fear of violence is ever present. Labor camps are reserved for those who have committed common crimes, such as illegal border crossings or smuggling. Prisoners in these camps are forced to perform exhausting and dangerous work without rest, endangering their health and well-being. Often this work is carried out in conditions of extreme poverty, without protective equipment or safety measures. Re-education centers, although they seem like the milder form of imprisonment, are still an instrument of the regime to ensure that state ideology is enforced. People in these centers undergo intensive psychological and ideological indoctrination with the goal of eliminating any dissenting thoughts and reinforcing loyalty to the leader and the party. Number 4. The educational system in North Korea. The educational system in North Korea is unique, not only for its structure, but also for the strict ideological control exerted over it. Children from a very young age undergo an educational process that goes beyond traditional subjects. Instead of encouraging critical thinking, they are taught to revere the leaders and blindly follow the regime's principles. What is this educational system in which loyalty to the state is more important than education itself? Education in North Korea is mandatory and free between the ages of 5 and 16 and is divided into 3 stages: primary, secondary, and higher education. However, the curriculum at these stages is heavily influenced by the regime's ideology. Subjects like the Korean language, mathematics, and science are taught in a way that glorifies the country's leaders and their revolutionary history. From a very early age, students are introduced to the Juche ideology, which promotes self-reliance, militarism, and reverence for the Kim family. The North Korean educational system is highly selective. Students are monitored and classified based on their loyalty to the regime and the background of their family. Those with relatives considered disloyal to the regime may face discrimination, limiting their educational and career opportunities. This system reinforces a social hierarchy where political loyalty becomes the determining factor for success in life. In addition, teachers must undergo intensive training that not only covers academic subjects, but also focuses on reinforcing the government's ideology. Teachers are responsible for ensuring that students adopt the regime's principles without questioning them. Critical thinking is strictly discouraged, and any form of dissent or questioning of the official ideology is punished. The system also incorporates extracurricular activities to promote loyalty to the state, such as in youth palaces and groups like the Children's Union, where young people participate in sports, music, and arts, all of which have a strong ideological component. Higher education, also under strict control, is reserved for a select elite. Those whose backgrounds and loyalty to the regime qualify them to attend prestigious universities, mainly in Pyongyang. Graduates from these institutions have no freedom to choose their profession. Instead, they are assigned to specific jobs by the government based on the regime's needs. The educational system in North Korea not only limits access to genuine and critical education, but also enforces total control over its citizens' lives. By subjecting young people to highly ideological education, the regime ensures that future generations will not question its authority or the political structure of the country. Instead of fostering individual development and innovation, obedience and conformity are cultivated, perpetuating the totalitarian system. Number 3. The cult of personality and the eternal leaders. In North Korea, the cult of personality is one of the fundamental pillars of the regime. Since its founding, the country has been under the figure of the Kim family, particularly Kim Il-sung, who not only founded the nation, but also became an untouchable leader. But how does the regime maintain its power through this cult? The cult of personality in North Korea is rooted in the almost divine figure of Kim Il-sung, who presented himself as the nation's only savior. Since coming to power in 1948, North Koreans were educated to see their leader as an omnipotent figure, creating excessive adulation for him. Through media, art, and propaganda, Kim Il-sung consolidated himself as a figure who not only governed, but also spiritually guided his people. This cult, perpetuated by his son Kim Jong-il and now by Kim Jong-un, ensures that no questioning or dissent is tolerated. The political system, presented as a democracy, allows only one candidate to be chosen, the supreme leader, guaranteeing that power is never diluted or challenged. Every 5 years, citizens exercise their right to vote, but the only real option is to keep the leader in power. Control over the population is absolute. Through the manipulation of education and history, a society is created that obeys without hesitation, considering any form of opposition as treason. The regime also promotes the idea of self-reliance, symbolized by Yushe, reinforcing the figure of their eternal leader as the guardian of the nation. This cult has had a profound impact on North Korean society, where blind loyalty to the Kim family is seen as a national virtue. The control of information, idolization, and fear of retaliation have allowed the regime to remain in power for decades, and the notion that these leaders are eternal persists even today. Number 2. Peculiar time zones and calendars. In North Korea, not only is the educational system unique, but also the way they manage time. Did you know that the country has its own time zone and special calendar? By not following the standard time used by the rest of the world, North Korea further emphasizes its isolation. But what does this peculiarity really mean? North Korea operates under its own time zone, known as Pyongyang Time, PT. This unique time system places the country at UTC +8, 30, meaning it is half an hour behind South Korea and Japan, both of which are at UTC +9. This decision was made in August 2015 to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the country's liberation from Japanese rule, symbolizing a break with its past under Japanese occupation. In addition to its unique time zone, North Korea uses its own calendar, known as the Juche calendar, which was introduced in 1997. This calendar begins with the birth year of Kim Il-sung, the founder of the North Korean state. Instead of counting years like most international systems, the Juche calendar places 1912 as year 1 inch due to Kim Il-sung's birth, marking a new era for the country. This temporal isolation and the creation of a unique time-measuring system reinforce the regime's nationalist and independence policies. Additionally, these measures make international interactions more difficult, as the differences in time zones and calendars can create confusion in diplomatic and commercial contexts. The peculiar time zones and calendars of North Korea not only symbolize the regime's control over its population, but also reinforce the message of self-reliance and separation from the rest of the world. These policies strengthen the official narrative of independence, while further limiting contact and cooperation with other countries. In practice, these changes can create friction in international relations and hinder efforts to involve North Korea in global activities. Number 1. The Ladies of Traffic. One of the most iconic scenes in North Korea is the image of elegant women directing traffic with impeccable precision. These ladies of traffic not only manage traffic flow, but also represent order and discipline in a country where every aspect of life is carefully regulated. What is behind these uniformed women who control the streets of Pyongyang? The ladies of traffic in North Korea are a unique phenomenon that combines traffic control with a deep representation of the regime's ideals. With their immaculate uniforms, white gloves, and distinctive hats, these women play a key role in managing traffic in major cities, especially in the capital, Pyongyang. Their presence at intersections not only ensures the orderly flow of vehicles, but also serves as a visual symbol of social order and the discipline imposed by the North Korean regime. These officers are carefully selected, chosen based on their physical appearance, height, and educational background. Those selected for the role must undergo rigorous training that goes beyond traffic rules, incorporating communication skills and manual signaling techniques to manage traffic efficiently. The training also includes adopting a highly disciplined and respectful attitude, which must be reflected at all times during their work. Introduced in the 1960s as part of an effort to promote a more orderly society, the ladies of traffic have transcended their original function to become national symbols of pride. Over the years, they have become a key element of state propaganda, often presented as an example of successful socialism and the discipline of the North Korean people. The ladies of traffic are not only essential for maintaining order on the streets of Pyongyang, but also symbolize the principles the regime seeks to promote: discipline, order, and a strong sense of nationalism. These women are portrayed as models of perfection, tasked with representing the idealized image of the regime both to North Korean citizens and foreign tourists. In a country where control over every aspect of life is crucial, the ladies of traffic stand out as a symbol of the meticulous way in which the regime manages even the most mundane activities. This concludes our journey through the most surprising curiosities of North Korea, a country where mystery and control intertwine to create a unique reality in the world. We hope this video has provided you with a clearer and deeper insight into the most enigmatic aspects of this isolated nation. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Share this video with your friends and leave us your comments below about which other topics you'd like us to explore. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and see you next time.